say, look, you might be going up against a super hot KT or a T1 who's also very strong.
Brendan, everyone's seen, you know that picture of that guy, and he's sitting in like a gamer chair, and the gamer chair's like tilted backwards?
Yeah.
And then like he tilts forward? That's just Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah, they just tilt it forward.
They just tilt it forwards, and they do this thing, it's called locking in.
Well,
right?
I think right now, Gen.G needs to do it.
They need to do that, they need to lock in.
Right now, they are 0-2, have lost 2 games on blue side in a row. They were coming into this series, by the way, this year, 15-0 on blue side here in 2025 LCK. They've lost now twice in a row. Kind of unprecedented, the leads and the snowball this series feels like it is rolling down the hill with. See a Jace ban here, as once again the Nidalee does go over. Alistair priority jumping up pretty high here on blue side for Gen.G. A lot of these big picks are gone. You know, even something like a Victor could be first pickable. We'll have to wait and see what Gen.G have in mind.
I feel like we've had this thing when we get a little bit deeper into best of fives, where sometimes you see more bot lane picks starting to crop up in the first 3. Early on in the series, we see like it's more normally like top side is all that dominates. And now we get a Nico actually being first picked, so presumably in the support role for Duro coming out. And then Jax instantly slammed for
Jax hit Dwani.
Yeah.
There's no more Trundle.
There's no more Trundle,
Just
so
slam it. Yep.
Immediately a lot of confidence there from HLE.
Yeah, you don't have the Yone, but I don't think you necessarily care now. Maokai has been...
Play Silas.
Very, very... Maokai's been very strong into this combo because he could just hold them at arm's length with his ultimate, especially in terms of objective control. But it is a fairly risky pick that we haven't seen Canyon find much success on.
Yeah, you also, if the Silas angle comes through and you have Maokai, you're doomed.
Also pretty okay for the Skarner, but the one player I think this entire season we've been able to trust on Skarner has been Canyon. He has been the guy who's played it after everyone else said it's not viable, it's not meta. And Peanut to a lesser extent, but Canyon has been way more consistent with it. As this would be an interesting blind one here. Does already have the Nico to back it up in the lane, so one of its weaknesses I feel like is somewhat short up, but it's Zeka, it's Silas.
I mean, you already have the Nico.
It's face up.
It doesn't look...
The Corki I'm not as happy about.
Just take the Silas. You already have the Nico ult. It like you don't need more ults than one really good one. It's one of the best ults. Just lock it in.
It's so good with the Sejuani.
Yeah.
It's Zeka's Silas.
Okay.
It just makes too much sense.
No, I feel like we've had thoughts about the other 2 drafts, but I think both drafts, no matter like where you personally feel about them, very playable, very winnable. This is the first draft where for Gen.G I'm like, ooh, into like the stuff that HLE has, I'm a little worried what they're playing into so far. So gotta see how they can navigate in this next stage.
What Chovy's gonna play into this Silas, you know?
Yeah.
Becomes a big question with so much taken away.
Maybe a Galio angle.
And one of the best picks into the Jax, you know, has been an R in situations like this, but you don't want to play that with a Silas on the other side. And so I'm also curious where Keen's going to go. The Renekton is taken away here first. And it does feel like options-wise, there's a lot more here on the table for Hanwha Life. There's so many AD carries you could still play here into the Kai'Sa Nico that feel very viable. And they're going to ban supports as a result. See what this final ban will be here for Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah,
Galio.
Gen.G just banned the Senna as their final ban.
That does make sense.
Yeah, I think Senna's fantastic with this front line that's going to be going in already. And you can do really well into the Kai'Sa Nico. I think it deserves a look, especially with Viper, the way he's playing. And it's just going to be Braum instead.
Kind of more concerned about a Lucian pick here, I suppose, but...
Yeah, I mean, Lucian Braum could definitely do work against the Kai'Sa, so I understand, but Senna's been big in our meta. I mean, she's been a powerhouse the last couple of weeks, so...
And the crazy thing about both of these picks are they're incredibly strong. Like, the Lucian doesn't have the Braum anymore as... That would be an interesting call, and he is going to just lock it in.
Okay.
Well, I'll just drop my thoughts on the Senna and the Lucian, as this is a completely different beast. Also leaves the Senna available for potentially a Game 4 here for Hanwha Life Esports. I mean, it's a very safe pick. Can be strong in lane. Very difficult to root with Nico because of the Valkyrie.
Yeah. Cassante.
The Keen special.
Well, they banned Renekton, and he's just going to play Keen Sante. It hasn't necessarily been a big pick, but Zeus had success on it recently.
And, you know, Corki's not the biggest, like, crit explosion AD carry, and you don't have Leandri's wielding champion, so it feels quite strong.
They did this before. Well, it wasn't specifically, but they could swap as well between these two. Like, they could put the Aurora top and the Cassante mid.
They certainly could.
If they wanted to. They have that flex option available, and Delight's going to lock in the Leona, which is honestly one of the things with the Nico is you can send your clone out. If you're playing into like a Nautilus or something, you send the clone out, it body blocks the dredge line. That doesn't work on Leona, so it's actually, as far as matchups go, it's a scarier one, especially with the Corki, with his Gatling gun proccing the passive so quickly.
It's really hard to dive the Corki. It's hard to follow up. Like, you know, if you're Duro in this case and you're trying to catch the Corki, if you catch the front line, it's pretty durable in general anyways, but catching the Corki is kind of out of the question. If you're trying to dive the bottom turret and try to collapse on the Viper, the Leona's great there, but it also works incredibly well as follow-up to all the other forms of engage that you have, all the other setup that you have. I do think Gen.G's composition has a lot of combo potential. I think there are some really strong angles where when you look at the Aurora ult getting dropped down, how much zone control there is, there are definitely some angles for sure for Gen.G with this comp. It's got a strong front line, but it's Kai'Sa, you know, to dive champion. I feel like the identity of Gen.G's comp isn't as strong as what is very obviously not only a strong dive and melee composition with great follow-up, but comfort across the board for Hanwha Life.
Looking for the 5-gamer, and we already talked about it. HLE is so good in that Game 5, but they've already gotten the work done in the first couple of games. Hard to see Gen.G, even if they do make it to a Game 5, winning that one.
The amount of confidence they must have on the back of these first 2 wins, and then that top side securing these champions, which scream confidence, these players on these picks. They're in such a good position right now, and really it's on Gen.G to answer, to step up and show that they deserve to be at MSI to defend the title that they hold.
They got to do it right here, right now. Let's hop on the rift for game number 3.
Gen.G, 하나, 둘, 셋. 하나생명, 하나, 둘, 셋.
Still packed here at the Sajik Gymnasium. So many people coming down to see who our first seed from the LCK will be. And we all assumed it would just be Gen.G. They'd keep that roll going with the 18-0 from the regular season. And instead, Hanwha Life Esports have come out and say, no, we're the better team when it comes to big, clutch, best-of-5s. And they've already proven it here. The only way they can really tarnish that reputation is if they lose 3 in a row. And that's going to be really difficult for them, the way they're playing right now.
There's a certain element of, we discuss very rarely with extremely dominant teams, but forgetting how to play from behind, forgetting what it's like to have your back up against the wall. Because Gen.G have only played a few Game 3s across the LCK, right? They went 18-0. They didn't lose any series. Most of their series were incredibly dominant, so much so that after the first 15 minutes, you knew it was likely over. The enemy team was thinking about the Game 2 draft because Gen.G had this insurmountable lead. And after losing a Game 2, like what we just saw, Gen.G has been in that position so rarely this year that they probably get a little shaken. You know, it's been a long time.
I think it's also, you know, a team adjusting when things are going wrong. It's something that T1 have been praised so much for with their back-to-back Worlds wins, because those years weren't clean, weren't smooth, but they were good at adjusting and problem solving. And I think Gen.G often, you know, have a lot of smooth sailing, but when sometimes at those critical moments things went wrong, it's like, okay, well, maybe more time where they had to problem solve could have changed things. Now they are in the position where they've had to problem solve, and in this game so far, Chovy is solving some problems of what to do about Zeki's Silas, and that is bully him in lane, and he's doing a pretty good job so far.
I don't think Chovy's laning has really been an issue this series at all, and with this matchup, he's going to take the big W you're supposed to get towards level 3 and push it right into Zek.
Well, actually, he hasn't skilled W yet. He actually put 2 points Q, 1 point E, so he hasn't actually...
Very true. Well said.
I mean W-I-N Ox.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Win. I'm curious about the Cassante. You know, I think it does have some good value into this comp already. You can do a good job of just kidnapping someone on the side of HLE that goes a little bit too far, and you're a very solid front line. He doesn't have the power that he used to have, obviously, but when it comes to like a Game 3 or a Game 4 or later in Fearless, I think it's not a bad look. We haven't seen Ornn at all yet in this series. Curious when that one is going to show its face, if it gets a chance at all, if Gen.G do take this win. A lot of trading here on the top side.
I think it has to be said, okay, hold up, bottom dive potential here. Heal early.
They've got a pretty good angle. Where are they going to go? Looks like they do want to go straight into Ruler, and he just gets blown up immediately. That's first blood given over to Peanuts Sejuani, and just like that, it's that simple. Even with the cleanse, Ruler doesn't even bother flashing, doesn't get a chance.
Yeah, I don't know really what else they could have done in that situation. The heal early, because obviously Ignite's going to come down. You don't want the heal reduced. The route from Duro was great. You obviously get the extended duration when it goes through multiple, but I don't know. I feel like they kind of did what they could, but if they want to kill you, you're going to die in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, Delight flashes out of the turret aggro, even though he was rooted with aggro from the play there from Duro, and just still not enough, not able to trade a kill back. You'll see it once again here from Peanuts' perspective as the engage starts with the aggro pickup here from the Leona. Follow-up from the Sejuani is great. The flash is good. And that's just Sejuani walking away.
Yeah, it's the layering after the cleanse with the knock-up, because obviously you get the increased tenacity after it. It's just, it's so well executed, it just doesn't give any outplay potential. So really well done by HLE there.
Yep, Peanuts calling the whole way, you know, saying, okay, I'm not going to use my flash here, go for the Kaisa, well done, guys, and definitely a leader. You know, there have been times, especially in the round robin, where we looked at Peanut and we're like, what is going on, man? But it's a different story. Now we're looking across the aisle at Canyon, we're like, what's going on, man?
Well, I mean,
so sometimes that's the way it goes.
The consolation cull that Ruler has in his inventory right now does not feel great. This will be okay, but you know, it's the moments like this in this game where you're like, oh, it's already, once again, we're on the back foot early. How are we going to fight our way back in? Feels super frustrating. It wasn't to mention earlier about the Cassante, it's Keen Sante, right? It hits a little bit different. The mastery of the champion that he has, I think, has to count for something. Has to count for a little bit, even with some of the changes to Cassante, some of the nerfs that came through. He isn't as meta. But again, the comp doesn't have that same strong identity as I feel their last comp did with a really strong front line.
Canyon's here. They are going to drop the ult here on Zeka. He's got his flash. He's going to try to flash over it, but Canyon's still on top of the Silas. And another rock comes through, and Chovy easily cleans that one up. So Zeka really having a rough time here in mid, and he will get punished once again.
Yep, really well played by Gen.G there, but also Zeka going in a bit aggressively. And I feel like when you're playing Silas and a range champion, you have to kind of play up in their face to trade back, but when Chovy has level 6 and you don't, always a dangerous game.
Yeah, and the rock's just slowing you there. You're never going to get away. Chovy plays it well. Doesn't even have to flash to get the second Q there to take him out, so just executes him, and it's a pretty significant advantage now for Chovy. It was building up slowly, but I feel like that was the sledgehammer to the end of Zeka's early game in this game. He's going to push this wave in. Chovy will get the majority of it. You're only going to be able to miss that one melee minion. As it starts off with Zeka, you know, going in here, like you said, he wants to trade aggressively because that's how you have to play this. But when Chovy has 6 and the jungler is there, and you don't know where the jungler is, you might just have to sit there and take a little bit more of the beating, because you're not getting out. If Canyon shows up, you're basically guaranteed dead.
Yeah, a lot of factors, and I think Zeka's going to be kicking himself for that one. And a nice capitalization by the Gen.G mid and jungle. So now it does feel like Gen.G have taken a bit of this early lead and done something with it with a nice proactive maneuver in mid. So definitely a nice position for them, whereas they've been kind of bullied early on in these games so far in this series.
A bit of a wave hold there from Ruler, but we'll eventually start pushing back towards Viper as he shows up. This top lane, by the way, quietly Keen with a 20 CS advantage and a 400 gold lead. We've kind of been checking in occasionally. It looks like Keen's taking nice trades, but hadn't really put my eye on that CS advantage for a while. He has a plate as well he's picked up here. He's looking for some more pressure right now. And again, I just mentioned the mastery. You know, we talk about Zeus on Jax all the time. He certainly has it too, but this early game looking really nice for Gen.G. Once again, the soul lanes, just like game 2, I think that was the best start they had despite the level 1, is both Keen and Chovy were generating advantages. It was team fights and group ups later on where the disaster started. But once again, good job by the laners.
Yeah, do you see HLE leveraging some of that bot pressure though to get an early dragon? And it is an Ocean as well, which honestly, Ocean Dragon, I feel like early dragons, you never really talk that much about the stat impact, but the sustain from an Ocean can actually go a long way, especially when your solo laners are struggling with some of the harass coming out. Do you see Delight and Peanut looking though?
Canyon's like, oh crap, I can't really help you here. Chovy is going to hop away, but he gets slowed by the Solar Flare. As in goes Peanut. It's going to hop over to the other side though, and Chovy gets away against 3.
One thing with the Aurora in this game is typically we think of like Aurora and how much damage you can sometimes do to squishies, but in a game like this where it's 4 melee champions and a short range carry, it can be really hard to actually pin her down, but also like, you know, the ult is often going to hit a lot of targets. Whenever you cast your abilities, you're probably going to hit 2-3 people. If Chovy gets fed, he's going to be able to pump damage this game.
Yeah, and we'll be able to go toe-to-toe in the side lane as well. Peanut did not commit the ultimate after Chovy did, you know, kind of Pac-Man his way back there out of his ult. And I think that maybe he could have fished for the flash there, but decides not to commit. Still holds his ultimate here. There's no objective for it. And Chovy's just chilling, looking for the ult again.
Canyon's here. Zeka, no flash, no ult stolen, and he's just a sitting duck. Nowhere for him to run, nowhere for him to hide, and Canyon picks up another one. Zeka is not a champion at this moment in time.
He's really not. I mean, he's sitting on, you know, just a catalyst, which is great for not losing super hard, but isn't going to really give you the advantages you're hoping for in this range disadvantage. And 2 big ganks from Canyon, 2 big wins in this early game for Chovy. And we asked the question, if he gets fed, I think we're kind of already there.
Yeah, 1,100 gold lead already in his pocket. Got the double mask we've seen from him before on, I think it was Victor last time. He went this, going for that damage amp as early as possible.
It's a lot of power in early fights.
Ruler does dodge the big one. Trades back pretty nicely, but that's kind of what the Corki can do as we take another look at this game.
Yeah, I mean, Zeka trading the ultimate here, but Chovy just gets him close enough for Canyon to hit him with the charge, and that's the end of his life.
The thing that feels so bad is like the ult is such a great escape tool. Like he definitely is like committing, like I want to clear the wave, I want to get out, but the ult would have been able to get him away from the gank, so pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, it was just way too obvious that he was just looking to clear the wave and back as soon as possible. And it's just so telegraphed that Canyon's like, all right, second he goes in, I'm going in.
I feel like so many of the deaths between these 2 teams in this series have been, okay, just clear the wave, get away. And that is where so many deaths happen, where it's like, I'll just finish this push. The junglers know. They know that's what you want to do. That's why they're going to gank you.
Yeah. Well, we do have a little bit of a change up in terms of where the lanes are going to go. The Solar Flare does hit Ruler, slows him at least, and that's going to get the cleanse out just to be safe. Kaisa not necessarily having a great time in this lane, but Ruler isn't far behind on farm like the other lanes of Hanwha Life are, so he's been able to shore up his lane very nicely. And he will be a menace once he gets 2-3 items especially. That is the way that Kaisa works.
This potential fight down here on the bottom side definitely favoring Gen.G right now with choke point control and flash and ult for Duro. Hanwha Life need to be super respectful. There's no dragon up just yet, but the fact that they need to back away from this turret gives a lot of vision control here to the side of Gen.G as Peanut is kind of in no man's land. Won't get
he's just hanging out with his buddy Viper in the mid lane. And he's been doing good for himself. You know, he got the dive down on the bottom side, and since then he's just been farming, but safe to say that Canyon has done more in this game. Or maybe you could say, depends on your perspective, maybe you could say Zeka has done more as well to assist Canyon on those ganks. And so it does leave us in a pretty fun spot where Gen.G, you know, if you're going to come back in the series, you obviously have to win this one, and getting a strong win would certainly help your mental and get you back on track. We've seen reverse sweeps before, even though they are quite difficult.
A lot of momentum, though, would be out of Hanwha Life Esports if this ends up being a W here for Gen.G. It's still so early in this game, and we've seen crazier throws, we've seen crazier catches, and big team fight clutches from both of these teams all year long. So even though it feels kind of doomed here for Hanwha Life in terms of some of the big advantages, the fact that Zeka is not really a champion in this game wouldn't count Hanwha Life Esports out just yet.
I also feel like when you're playing Silas and you have like a Nico ult on the enemy team, I mean, even if all you do is just steal the ult and get a big ult, that's still value, right? You're still offering a decent amount.
Yeah, just become a second support.
Exactly. And as like you've got a Jax on your team, you've got a Cork on your team, as long as they're doing something, like, yes, the game's not a great position right now, but it's still winnable. And we've seen HLE come back from worse positions. Right now, though, Gen.G starting up the Dragon, HLE looking to get in position and see if they can find an angle.
Yeah, not sure about this one. Again, Zeka, I don't think he even finished the Rod, which will be his first item. So they're going to throw an ult in onto Duro, but he is totally fine. And now we got a pale from the side of Canyon as the stolen Nico ultimate doesn't do anything. Everybody on the side of HLE is just melting as they take a questionable fight, and Canyon knocks it down. As we wanted to see more from the man, he's showing it to us right here in Game 3.
I said I don't know if we can count Hanwha Life Esports out, but I think after that one, we definitely will. I think in this one, the combo is so sick. Canyon gets the Impale, Duro with the follow there, and the third follow is from Zeka when everything is already in tatters and in shambles. He doesn't offer much damage, and his ultimate doesn't have any follow-up as... I mean, Peanut looking for this, sure, but they don't secure the kill. Duro flashes and finds a good angle of the Impale. Into... Bam! 3-man knock-up, and then you see Zeka go for the counter, but it doesn't do anything, and the fight is already over. And Chovy was already so big in this game, picks up a ton of gold in this fight. He's a huge side lane threat with 3 grubs in this Aurora. And Canyon's like, yeah, it's good. Looking for the ult. I don't think we're losing this.
Is he talking about the fight, the game, or the series? Maybe all 3. But a huge play there from Canyon, and I just feel like, you know, the play from HLE, they were kind of going for like a non-committal look for Duro, like take out the Nico squishy. If you're removing, especially because Duro didn't have Celestial opposition, remove that CC option. Oh.
All right, trying to make something happen here. We do not have a Sejuani ultimate, and that is a Cassante.
Yeah, I think he's out.
Yeah, he's totally fine.
And
that's just a free Rift Herald on top of it?
Yeah, just a free Herald, as you say, and...
All right, Duro gonna meet his opposing support. Delight continuing on this one. Zeus is nearby, level 11. They will be able to keep Duro down. As Duro thought, you know, well, we got total control up on the top side, but he's gonna pay for it with his life. And Canyon gets in, gets the Rift Herald, and gets out. So, not the end of the world here for Gen.G. They will get the objective.
Yeah, I need to get more.
Oh, just a nice bait from Peanut, I suppose. Or did he overstep? Is the question. Delight and Zeka here. They're going to go for the re-engage. We got Corky. Viper is on the way. They're going to pull back Canyon, who is in a lot of trouble here and will be given a shutdown. Viper, he gets ulted by the Cassante, but he's totally fine for a while until Ruler makes his way to the back line. But that's a very squishy Kaisa, who goes straight into 2 melee members, and he gets punished immediately. Chovy, now he's got double buff, and he will be looking to follow up on this one. But HLE making this a very close fight from this far behind is pretty impressive, and they're going to shore up some of that goal deficit.
I mean, I think a 3v3 of this game state, you'll take it.
Yeah, 100%. HLE, considering how far behind they were, able to bring that one out. And I think Gen.G just a little bit overconfident. You know, Chovy did so much work to clean that fight up, but here, Canyon had already burned the ultimate. Commits into this fight when it's just 2 tanks in the mixer. And this is really where HLE thrive, you know, getting the Sejuani passive procs. Yes, Viper just get pulled out and ends up going down, but like Sejuani with Zeus there, with Zeka there, you're stacking up the passive, you're burning people down. And it just felt like a bit of an overcommit. You know, Zeka and Zeus end up running away from the fight in the back end.
Yeah, I think for Canyon there, it was just unfortunately the wrong read. Even though they had vision of how many Hanwha Life members were nearby, I think if Chovy wasn't as big as he was this game, like if he was just dead even with Zeka, and you take that type of fight, I mean, Hanwha Life just walk all over you. At least Chovy was able to do a massive amount of damage, help clean things up, had a big ult there to change things. He hasn't died yet this game. That may change.
There is so much money
He doesn't have ult yet.
There's so much money in this Aurora. Now, who is going to collect the pinata is the only question. They're going on in. They're committing hard onto this kill for Chovy. It's taking quite a while, though, and they give the kill 1,000 gold over to Zeus. But the ensuing fight is not looking too good for the side of Hanwha. Zeka trying to get away, and a missed Nico ult. Looks like Zeka will just sacrifice. Nearly even takes out Ruler. And look at this in mid. Viper's getting a free turret, and Hanwha Life are kind of getting big wins here on the map, and Gen.G are being run around even with their gigantic lead.
It's bit by bit, it's chisel by chisel, but Hanwha Life are certainly finding some angles in this game.
They're looking for more. Keen up here on the top side is a bit of a broken up play, as now Peanut, he's going to be isolated, and Zeus can't do much to help him, as now he's going to be bopped back and tries to hop away. Even Delight is desperately trying to save him, but he won't be able to. It's a double kill for Keen Sante, and Hanwha Life just threw it immediately back into Gen.G's favor on a close fight in top lane.
You know, I was going to say, after they got that 1 kill in return, that like they needed 3 or 4 kills to make that death worth it. Well, they got the 3 or 4 in the end. Here, Chovy, unfortunately, doesn't have his ult available yet. Really overextended, as slippery as the Aurora is, as much as that flash buys him a lot of value, just not able to get away from the situation. The team comes in to save him, but Zeka buys a lot of time by moving downwards, so Peanut and Zeus can sort of start to try and escape away as the rest of the focus goes here. And initially, this looks pretty great for HLE, right? It's a 1-for-1, you got a ton of gold, you have Viper pushing mid. If you just break and disengage here, that's a good play.
Yeah, I mean, now you're, like, we had the slippery Aurora that they engaged on before that bought enough time for some of those members to come up, but then here, engaging onto the Cassante was a bit puzzling. Delight wasn't there to follow up. Viper was still in mid. He got the turret, but just cut your losses here, Hanwha. And now, once again, the pendulum swings massively back into favor of Gen.G.
Yeah, it was not even cut your losses, cut your wins.
Yeah.
You had it. But now Gen.G, 6,000 gold lead at this point. And, you know, we talked about Chovy being super fed. Ruler got a lot of gold on the back of that on this Kai'Sa, extremely strong.
Yeah, it does feel like at this point for Hanwha Life, it's kind of like we got to go late and get this Jax huge. Like, Zeus got a ton of money from the Aurora, but I don't know if he can do it by himself. I feel like the Cassante does a pretty good job of neutralizing the Jax in team fights at least, and they have a ton of burst damage, so the second that the Counter-Strike is down, the Jax is actually quite vulnerable, even if he is very fed, so not a lot of outs here for Hanwha Life. Like, it felt like there was a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but then, as we just saw, they kind of immediately threw it back. So, very much worried for their chances in this game 3.
Yeah, there's also the fact that he doesn't have grubs, so it's not the same sort of side lane power he would have ideally be looking for if he's able to interact with turrets this game. And I think you're going to have to see a punish from Hanwha Life Esports. Overextensions, you know, Canyon going back in, looking for those types of single target picks with Peanut and the follow-up with Zeka, because you have all that CC. If you can catch one target when Gen.G aren't there, and it's a good target to kill, one that you can kill quickly enough, or the rest of Gen.G is far away enough to where you can actually take a long time to kill them, it doesn't matter, unlike those fights we saw topside. I think that's how you kind of get back into the game as Hanwha, but with a 6,000 gold deficit, we may just be past that point.
Wait, I realized both Gen.G, they've got on Keen and Canyon, they got double Unending Despair, and it's 4 melee on HLE, so they're just going to proc so much healing off those, and they're feeling so confident now. They're starting off the Arakan.
Yeah, Peanut being zoned quite a bit. He is able to get into the pit, though. Going to be a bit of a flip here as it does go to Peanut. He gets into the 3-man ult, comes in from Zeka. They don't have that damage follow-up, though. And Keen is the target here for Hanwha Life. It's not a good one. As in goes Chovy now, taking a bunch from the front line as he will go down. But now look at Ruler. He's totally unleashed. Nobody can take him down. As Zeus Viper trying to go in, and they trade, actually. Will be enough, potentially, as Zeus gets a big shot. Picks up a kill, but he will be taken down at the very end. Hanwha, they keep making these fights so close, and they even got the Arakan.
What an incredible counter-strike there at the end to make sure you can get that final hit in.
But the thing is, this is not a good fight for Gen.G. Like, HLE got the Arakan and traded down, sure, but considering the deficit they had, this isn't good, and it's like, how is Peanut able to smite when Keen has ult? Why are you letting him get near?
I mean, yeah, Ruler is like queuing the Otacon. Like, they're trying to actually look for the secure instead of the fight, and they gave Peanut the opportunity. Zeka actually bought so much space with his ultimate, even though there's not follow-up to get the kills off of it. It splits the fight so incredibly well here. And then Zeus, man, he does so much work in these final moments. That final counter-strike as well. Watch this. Gets Duro, all 3 of them. And secures the kill.
Look, I know obviously Gen.G got 5 kills, but considering they had such a gold lead, yeah, I agree. It's a big win for HLE. That they should not, like, Gen.G are letting them get away with crazy things considering how far ahead they are. And it's 2-0 in the series to HLE. You cannot be giving them this much space.
Yeah. They had a massive lead, but longer the game goes along, I mean, 6,000, it's still large. Gen.G are still in charge, but it just feels like they're not. Like, when we look at this team fights, I'm just like, how are HLE squeezing out the tiny bit of value that they can find, and Gen.G are struggling so much, even with this big of a lead?
It's the kind of game that if you're a Gen.G fan, you're feeling insanely stressed about, because you know that you should win this, but what does it mean for the implications for the rest of the series if you have a 7,000 gold lead and you're playing it this close? And what if you could even lose this game potentially? What if one throw comes through, one big fight comes over, suddenly Zeka becomes relevant? He's, by the way, still hasn't finished his rod, has no second item in this game. He's still not even really a champion.
At least he ulted 3 people.
Exactly. That's exactly what we talked about, though, right?
Yeah.
He is Nico.
But you know, if you look at this and you're thinking, I want Gen.G to be the first seed, I want them to get the reverse sweep, this isn't necessarily the performance you're looking for what has to happen not only here, but then in games 4 and 5 to get that done.
Honestly, I think Zeka should just build Rocket Belt and accept his role in this game.
Just build whatever Duro builds, and then, you know, it'll feel like it makes sense.
Yeah.
Zeka did get that final markup there on the Rod of Ages, so he was able to hit level 14.
I mean, they do have Otacon also.
yeah, he's coming back a little bit. Chovy, okay, just going to run in the south direction. Peanut is here as the ult is going to hit him, and now you've got the Leona follow-up, but that is still Aurora.
Yeah, you got to ult after the Aurora ult.
Yeah. Zeo's here, a bit alone, but he is Jax, so he hops away. Still a nice win for Gen.G. There's no catch on the top side of Chovy, and they just get a free inner on the bottom side.
Yeah, Baron not up yet, and they weren't really in a position to do it anyway, but Gen.G found that window to get tier 2, and now looking for the Dragon immediately. Did off the game for them.
I feel like this game should be unlosable.
Yes.
I think we're all just looking at it going, all right, what if? But
yeah, I think that's the perspective. This game should have been over and done for a long time for Gen.G, and I think that's why we feel so hesitant about it, because HLE are making it feel uncomfortable from the perspective of Gen.G, especially considering that, like, Gen.G need to win 3 in a row to win this series.
And there's some tools now that are completed here, right? Like, Zeka finally got his second item. You know, there's a budgeted arm guard here for Zeus for a clutch team fight upcoming on a big objective. For example, like if Gen.G do a greedy Baron. There are some angles that make you feel like, okay, yeah, LDR done for Viper. Is it possible that they could actually rip through these tanks and win a straight-up fight if the Baron call is poor for Gen.G? How punishing Hanwha has been all year long is kind of the name of the game for this team. And, you know, one small misstep from Gen.G might be enough to get them at least to even footing.
Speaking of which, nearly face-sticking into 4 people is Duro. He's got a little bit of support, but that's a Nico. Not exactly tanky.
He used the clone, though. It's fine. That's honestly part of the value. I feel like so many times it's hard playing like a squishy champion as a support in pro when you have to face check, but Nico just send the clone in.
Yeah.
Yep, and he's got flash and ult for the next team fight. In terms of setting up the engage, he and Canyon already had one crazy wombo combo earlier. All right, Keen.
All right, nice. Big engage, though, on top of Viper. He's isolated in the backside, and Ruler just assassinates him. Very nice engage here from the side of Duro. That's more of what we expected from this guy, what we saw in the regular season, and now Delight has to flash away. HLE, they had an angle back in, and it's technically not over, but Gen.G a very nice fight here to try to secure their lead.
The unstoppable from Ian, just annoying Zeka as he tries to look for the chains. And he wants more.
Yeah, they're just being zoned away. They're doing the Baron at the same time, so Gen.G looking for the objective.
I mean, the way that Gen.G played that, we've seen a lot of teams with big advantages kind of throw around red buff by trying to overforce, but the fact that they had Chovy crashing that wave into inner, that all that power, the collapse power, meant that it wasn't greedy at all, it wasn't risky even a little bit, and it just guarantees a pick. Hanwha have to respond. And, I mean, look at how much control they have here on the top side. Hanwha Life are so limited in their options. And while they're thinking about it, the engage comes through. The AD carry is dead, and that's that. That's Baron.
Yep, and this is sort of execution we expected from Gen.G, from regular season Gen.G, when they have control, when they push the pace forwards. And now with the 10,000 gold lead, Baron in pocket, Seoul 2 minutes 40 away, which is just after Baron times out. This is when you start looking forwards and you start looking towards that next game and thinking, okay, now we've really got a series on our hands, but still need to close this one out. But I think it's pretty hard to see angles for HLE from here.
Canyon almost 2 levels ahead of Peanut. Remember, Peanut got that dive in the bottom lane, and since then hasn't really been able to do too much. They're trying to turn on the Canyon, though, as the stolen Impale comes through, and the real Impale does a lot more. Catches 3 in the front with a Nico at the same time, and I think the Wallet's just going to get the job done. Jovi comes on over, and Zeus, he's very fed relatively to his team, but it's not going to be enough. Peanut getting low as well. Will be finished off. It's a clean ace for Gen.G as finally they show some signs of life in this series.
And I think relief for Gen.G fans everywhere, as this is the dominant showing we saw from this team all year long in terms of LCK, in terms of regular season matchups where they are undefeated. And peak Gen.G form does show up here in Game 3. They will not go down without a fight. It is not going to be a 3-0, but this is only step 1 of 3. They need to be our #1 seed for MSI.
Yeah,